So good morning everybody. Class 10. Actually we could not make the live because I think that some students they are not getting touch with us, and that's why I have decided to make the explanations video and I will upload it. So last class we were discussing about the trump of surgery, and where you have seen that Mrs. Pumphrey, the owner, and Tricky, as well as the doctor, they have their own role, and they are playing their significant role in the curing of Tricky, because Tricky has become sick, and I think Tricky has taken much more food, and that's why he has become sick. So the doctor came to Mrs. Pumphrey, and he looked out the dog, and he came to find out that which kind of disease, which kind of problem Tiki was facing. And doctor suggested Mrs. Pumphrey that uh, Tiki should be kept in the look after of, you know, in observation, and that's why he took Tricky with him to his hospital, to the hospital of the dogs, and there he saw that he saw that Tricky, he has given the Tricky a well treatment. He kept Tricky with there. Now the rest of the things, I think that I will explain it and then I will complete it. So when they had finished, and last class we have seen that Tricky now started moving. He has started, doing the actions there. He also is trying to play with other dogs in the hospital where he has been kept. So all was discussed there. Let us, I will read the text next and I will explain it. All the while Mrs. Pumphrey hovered anxiously in the background, trying a dozen times a day for the latest bulletin. When Tricky was being given treatment in the hospital, his mistress, his owner, Mrs. Pumphrey, he made many times call to the doctor to know about the health of Tricky. So now the doctor is describing what was the situation there, and what was happening with Mrs. Pumphrey when dog went to the animals hospital for the treatment. I dodged the question about whether his cousins were being turned regularly or his correct coat worn according to the weather, but I was able to tell her that the little fellow was out of danger and convalescing rapidly. Now the doctor told Mrs. Pumphrey that now Tricky was out of danger and he is recovering slowly. It's a very fast. The word convalescing seems to do something to Mrs. Pumphrey. She started to bring round fresh eggs, 2 dozen at a time, to build up Tricky's strength. For a happy period, my partner and I had to go eggs for each breakfast. But when the bottle of the wine began to arrive, the real possibility of situation began to dawn on the household. It was to enrich Ticky's blood. Lunch became a ceremonial occasion with 2 glasses of wine before the several during the meal. Now, the doctor explaining that how he was, and caring he was treating Tricky. We could hardly believe when brandy came up to the final stage on Tricky constitution. For a few nights, the fine spirit was rolled around, inhaled, and reverently drunk. They were days of deep content, starting with the extra egg in the morning, improved and sustained by the midday wine, and finishing luxurious round the fire with the brand. Now, he's describing which kind of food Tricky was being given in the hospital, and the doctor also tried to tell that when Tricky was recovering rapidly, Mrs. Pumphrey tries to take the things to the hospital. That should be wine there, that should be some edible and some drinkable work things for Tricky, and that's why he is describing about that. And now he has done that. The rest of the things, they are going very well. Tricky was recovering. Okay, now they were the days of deep content, जब ट्रिकी जो है वेल एक्स्ट्रा एक खाने में सुबह अर्ली इन द मॉर्निंग एक्स्ट्रा जो है कि एक नाश्ते में लेना शुरू कर दिया, एंड मिड डे में भी थोड़ा अच्छा खाना खाया, और रात में लोग जो भी मतलब खाने में मीन्स जो डिनर उसको दिया जाएगा वो बड़ा अच्छा से खाया, ब्रांडी खाया, तो समझ में आएगा कि ना रिकवरिंग. It was a temptation to keep Tricky on as a permanent guest. इतना पॉसिबल भी नहीं था कि उसको हमेशा के लिए यहाँ रखें, बट आई न्यू दैट मिस Pumphrey was suffering, and after a fortnight felt compelled to phone and tell her that the little dog had recovered and was waiting collection. नाउ द डॉग हैज़ रिकवर्ड. अब डॉक्टर कह रहे हैं कि ट्रिकी को बहुत दिनों तक यहाँ नहीं रख सकते, क्योंकि ट्रिकी के बिना मिसेस Pumphrey, शी विल बी वेरी रेस्टलेस. आई थिंक दैट शी हैड कॉल्ड मेनी टाइम्स, and that's why the doctor also was forced to call Mrs. Pumphrey and tell her that now Tricky has recovered, he has become fine. Mrs. Pumphrey could take Tricky to her home, and that's why the doctor called to her, and he was waiting. Means that the dog was waiting for his mistress, the owner. Within minutes, about 30 feet of gleaming black metal drew up outside the surgery. The chopper opened the door, and I could just make the figure of Mrs. Pumphrey. वही बोले 30 minutes के 30, after 30 minutes, yeah, 30 feet, now he is doing to the doctor comes to know that Mrs. Pumphrey has come to his house, so his apartment. And the chopper, वो गाड़ी चलाने में, the chopper opened the door, and I could just make out the figure of Mrs. Pumphrey almost lost in the interior. वो जो गाड़ी में बैठकर मिसेस Pumphrey को देखा कि मिसेस Pumphrey हैं, वो आ चुकी हैं. डॉक्टर ने ड्राइवर ने दरवाज़ा खोला. Her hands were tightly clasped in the front of her. Her lips trembled. Oh my Harriet. Oh Mr. Harriet, Harriet the name doctor. Do tell me the truth. Is he really better? अब वो पूछ रही हैं कि डॉक्टर साहब क्या सच में Tricky is better now? Yes, he is fine. There is no need for you to go out of the car. I will go and face him. आपको बाहर आने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, आप कार में ही बैठे रहिए, मैं जो है कि अभी उसको लेकर के आता हूँ. I walked through the house into the garden. A mass of the dog was hurtling around and round the lawn, and their midst, ear flapping, tail waving, was the little golden figure of Tricky. मतलब ट्रिकी का क्या गोल्डन था, मतलब जैसे ही वो घर में घुसे, जहाँ गार्डन में, जहाँ the other dogs with Tricky, they have been kept, they were playing, they were uh, moving their tails, waving their tails, and Tricky also was waving his tail. और पूँछ हिला रहा था, कान जो है कचला रहा था. In 2 weeks, he had been transferred into a lithe, hard muscles animal. He was keeping up well with the pack stretching out of the great bundle, his chest almost brushing the ground. नाउ अब वो ट्रिकी का डिस्क्रिप्शन कर रहे हैं कि 2 वीक में क्या हुआ, एकदम वेरी फाइन हो गया. नाउ ही इज़ लुकिंग मोर स्ट्रॉन्ग, ही इज़ मोर स्ट्रॉन्ग बिफोर दैट, यू नो. और अभी ये सब मतलब मोटा हो गया. I carried him back along the passage to the front of house. The chopper was still holding the car door open, and when Tricky saw his mistress, he took off from my arms in the tremendous leap and sailed into Mrs. Pumphrey's lap. अब ये कह रहे हैं कि जैसे उसने the dog has seen, the his mistress, he jumped out from my arm, and went to the arm of Mrs. Pumphrey. So this is the description he is doing. She gave a startled oh, and then had to defend herself as he swung over her, licking her face and barking. During the excitement, I helped the chopper to bring out the beds, toy cushions, boats, and bowls, none of which had been used. As the car moved away, Mrs. Pumphrey leaned out the window, tears shone in her eyes, her lips trembled. Oh, Harriet, how can I ever thank you? This is the trump of surgery. Actually, this is the trump of surgery in the sense it was not the surgery, but it means surgery in the sense surgeon. And this story is about, actually James Harriet. He was a doctor there professionally. He was a doctor there, and that's why he has treated as a dog, and that's why that was his trump. Because whenever you do something, suppose that I'm a teacher there, if my students they work better, this is my trump. एक गुरु के लिए क्या होता है, मीन्स a guru is a guru feels more happy at that moment when his student does better, and that's why this is the trump of everything. So this is not the concept only, because it was also a challenge before the doctor how to cure Tricky, because Tricky was uh, facing the problem of overfood, over malnutrition, whatever is there. So this is the trump of surgery. So I think that you have you came to know about that. What is the trump of surgery? There are some some hard words also. You can use it. You can write it, and you can do this also. So let us go through the text, and that will be better to understand the story. What kind of a person do you think the narrator, veterinary surgeon, is? Would you say he is tactful as well as full of common sense? I think that the surgeon, he was very well experienced person, and he is professionally a doctor, veterinary doctor, and he cures all the animals problem diseases, and he commonly comes to know about the sickness of Tricky, because when he saw that he was have become more fat, you know Tricky stomach flooded out, and that's why he came to know at that same point, because he has a experience. And I think that he is the narrator. The doctor is narrator himself, and that's why we can say that he is very he is tactful as well as full of person. The second question is, do you think Tricky was happy to go home? Why do you think will happen? So yes, absolutely he was happy to go home, because he was He was being cared. He he brought up in the family of Mrs. Pumphrey, in the companion of Mrs. Pumphrey, and Mrs. Pumphrey was mostly everything for Tricky. Tricky came to the contact with the dogs of his species, but he was more happy when he saw that Mrs. Pumphrey has come to take him to home. And that's why you have seen that from the arms of doctor he jumped out and went to the lap of Mrs. Pumphrey. So he was very happy to go. Tricky was very happy to go. What do you think will happen now? After that, she will live in I think live in Mrs. Pumphrey house, and Pumphrey also will care about the food because she has given much more food. She has done maintain the diet of Tricky. So that should be on the suggestion of the doctor then. Third is, do you think is the real episode? This is the real episode, or mere fiction, or it is the mixture of both? I think it is the mixture of both. It may be real story also, because in the foreign, the people keep the animals more attached to them than their daughter, son, children, and they are more fascinated, they are more attached to the animals also. They trained in such situations also. So might be this story because the narrator is professionally a veterinary doctor, and he should have a case like this in his life. Might be correct. So I think, and sometimes fiction, and because every story as well as either you are going through the novel, even in the historical novel, they are the representative of history that had happened already. They have also some fiction, some imagination, and that's why you can say that this story also is the mixture of the both. It may be truth also, it may be the real also, it may be fiction also. So maybe there. Okay, let us see the let us talk about it. This episode describes the silly behavior of a rich woman who is foolishly indulgent, perhaps because she is lonely. Do you think such a people are merely silly, or can their action cause harm to others? Might be, because in society there are many persons, and there are different kinds of persons. Their behavior change. They have their different behavior. So might be this happen because of her loneliness. Might be. I agree. Because society has different kind of people. Their behavior varies from time to time. So no question that they should be static. They should be changing also. So might be hope sakta. Second is, do you think there are also parents like Mrs. Pumphrey? Yes, Mrs. Pumphrey like parents also are there, exist in world, basically in the foreign. They have their most of the cares to their animals. And they also loving creatures there. So maybe what you have done if you were a member with the staff in Mrs. Pumphrey house. आप अगर एक मेंबर होते, स्टाफ होते, तब क्या करते? यू हैव टू राइट इट बाय योर सेल्फ. नेबर होते तो क्या, पड़ोसी होते तो क्या करते? वट वुड योर लाइफ हैव बीन लाइक? आपका ज़िंदगी कैसा होता? वट यू हैव डन इफ़ यू आर अ नरेटर प्लेस? आप अगर नरेटर के प्लेस पर होते तो क्या करते? तो दिस इज देयर in this story about, this is you call totally a trump of surgery trump up surgery in the sense the the successful treatment of an animal by a veterinary doctor. This is called the therefore this chapter is entitled as the trump up surgery. So I think that will be better if you understand by the explanation. So thank you very much for being with me, and I think that uh, whole explanation I have done in this video by reading the text. Now it's your duty to understand, to write, and to remember it, to learn it. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day.